Welcome, everyone. A warm welcome to all of you for our webinar today, Using Genetics to Reclaim Our African Roots and Enrich Our Futures. I'm Pat Snipes, the founder and director of the Vibrant Health Association, which is the sponsor for this event on behalf of our special project, the Before Slavery Exhibit. That's right, we're building a Black History Museum that's not about civil rights or slavery. It's about what our lives were like before slavery. And today, we will be welcoming our special guest. I've been looking forward to this for a very long time. I'm really excited. We will be welcoming our ever popular guest, Dr. Gina Paige. She is the co-founder of the largest and most comprehensive genetic ancestry testing for Africans and the African diaspora, African Ancestry. But first, I'm going to introduce you to our moderator, and our moderator will tell us more about Dr. Paige. Special thanks to our moderator, Modeste Kamupinda. She's a multi-talented young scholar in her own right, and Before Slavery is very happy to have her as a part of our team. She's a graduate of Spelman College with a degree in international studies, political science, and government. She's very much involved in energy distribution and sustainability. Modesta is an international traveler. She speaks several languages. She's from Zimbabwe, and she's joining us now from Zimbabwe. Please welcome Modesta Kamupinda. Modesta?
Thank you so much, Ms. Pat. Thank you for that kind introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Dr. Paige. It's such an honor to be interviewing you today, and we're looking forward to your presentation. And I would like to welcome everyone who is online right now, who is joining us on Facebook, and those who are joining us here on Zoom. So as you know, and you read Dr. Paige's profile, she is an industry leader, and she is playing such a huge role in helping people of African descent trace their roots and their lineage. So you already know her profile, we have shared it. I don't want to speak so much of her. I'll give her an opportunity to do the speaking for herself through her presentation. Dr. Paige, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. It's a pleasure to be here with everyone. And I appreciate the invitation very deeply. What I'm going to do today, just in a short amount of time, is to talk to you not so much about the historical context of the work we do, because of course, if you are part of the Before Slavery group and the entire group, you already know the history. I'm preaching to the choir on the history part. But what I'll also do is break down the science of genetic ancestry testing. I think that's really the question. That's where most of the questions lie for people. And then if we have time, we can touch on the cultural context for the work that we do. But again, I'm preaching to the choir with that information.
Thank you for attending today's webinar, Using Genetics to Reclaim Our African Roots and Enrich Our Futures, with our special guest, Dr. Gina Paige, who's the co-founder of African Ancestry. And just a recap, in 2003, Dr. Gina Paige co-founded African Ancestry, and you can find the website is africanancestry.com. And in doing so, she pioneered a new way of tracing African lineages using genetics, and a new marketplace for people of African descent looking to more accurately and reliably trace their roots. Dr. Paige travels the world helping people demystify their roots and inform on identities so that they better understand who they are by knowing where they are from. Dr. Paige has worked with and revealed the roots of some of the world's leading icons, including Oprah Winfrey, John Legend, Chadwick Boseman, Spike Lee, Condoleezza Rice, and the King family. She has served as a speaker, presenter, and partner to McDonald's, Capital One, the Walt Disney Company, Booz Allen Hamilton, Wells Fargo, the Wall Street Health Forum, New York Times, Travel Show, the United Healthcare, and dozens of community organizations and faith-based entities. She is often a go-to resource for African diaspora communities, including the embassies of Cameroon, Nigeria, and Ghana. The Year of Return 29 event from Jamestown to Jamestown with the leaders of the NAACP, Back to Africa Festival in the Cape Coast, and various African tourism authorities and leaders. So I would like to now open the discussion to attendees. If you have any questions, please feel free to type your questions in the Q&A. And the first question is from Nikita Brown. She says, what test did you say was the best to take? The one that gives more detailed information.
African Ancestry has two tests. One traces maternal ancestry and one traces paternal ancestry. They're both equally as accurate. It just depends on which branch of the tree you're most interested in learning about. If your goal is to have the best chance of finding an African answer, then the matriclan test would be the best test for you. Because there's a 92% chance that you'll get an African result.
Awesome. So a question from me personally, Dr. Gina Paige. So what really inspired you or motivated you to get into this field? You said you last took genetics classes a long time ago in your science classes, but what opened this field to you?
Well, let me say this, that African Ancestry was the dream of my business partner, Rick Kittles, Dr. Rick Kittles. He created it because he wanted to know where he was from, had done the research. When the community found out that he was able to answer the question, he got inundated with requests. So it's a classic case of supply and demand. There was a demand, and we had to create the supply in order to meet it. When I met Dr. Kittles, I was already an entrepreneur working for myself, but I had a career in product management, launching new products, line extensions for companies like Colgate-Palmolive Company, Sara Lee Bakery. And so for me, this was an opportunity to, one, create a product that had never existed before. Before February 21st, 2003, you could not use DNA to answer this question. Nobody offered that ability. They still don't. We're the only ones. To use my skill set that I invested in, that my parents invested in, all those years, for a group of people that I'm passionate about. In my career, it wasn't often that I could work on marketing to Black people, work on products that were designed specifically for Black people. Actually, never. And so this was the perfect combination of all three of those things for me. And Dr. Kittles and I shared similar values, a similar perspective on what it means to be a Black person in the world. And so it was just a natural fit.
That is amazing and inspiring as well, especially as as young as we are, to be using our skill set and our abilities to the benefit of the greater community. Thank you for that, Dr. Paige. And I hope that one day African Ancestry can come to Africa, because I am 100% African, but it is only when I went to the US that someone told me that you should take DNA tests, you know, because you ought to really look more into your lineage. You might be a mixture of different ethnicities as well. So this is a subject.
That's interesting to me, because I actually disagree. I think that part of the reason, I wish that we didn't have to have African ancestry. I wish this company didn't have to exist. The only reason we exist is because there is no other way. There are no records. We weren't even considered human beings and recorded in a federal census until 1870. And so we are grasping at whatever we can to better understand who we are. When you grow up on the continent, from what I understand, of course, this is not every single person in every single country, but I've been told time and time again that you have a sense of who you are. You know your grandparents' names. You know your great-grandparents' names. You know their parents' names. You grow up in a community that has been there for a very long time, and we don't have that benefit. So if you're just curious to see, you know, oh, well, do my genetics, are they consistent with what my family has told me, then that's one thing. But for us, it's not a novelty. For us, it's a necessity. We have to have this information in order to fill out our identities.
Wow, that's powerful, Dr. Paige. So in the tests that have been done so far, what are the most common ethnicities that people are coming from? The people who have taken the tests, like maybe the top 5 or the top 10. What are the most common?
So the countries that we find, and these are all present day countries, okay? I want to be very clear that we understand that at some point, these were not the country borders, that they were artificially and politically drawn. But what we have is where the people are today. So that's what we're going to call it, right? The countries that we find the most often are Sierra Leone, Cameroon, Guinea-Bissau, Nigeria, and I'd say Liberia. The ethnic groups that we find the most often are the Mende, the Temini, the Balanta in Guinea-Bissau, the Tikar and the Bamileke in Cameroon, the Hausa Fulani in Nigeria, the Bisa in Burkina Faso actually falls into the top 10. Let me see. Oh, and then in Liberia, it would be the Kru people. But we have found results from people living in 27 different countries, 27 different African countries.
Wow, that's amazing. So back to the Q&A section. Please, everyone, if you're just joining us, feel free to type any questions that you have. Esther Perez asks, in this tracing, is it possible to find out your ancestry name as opposed to the names we have been given in America? Like, can you actually trace back to the family name of the people who came from Africa?
So we are unable to tell you the names of the people that you share ancestry with, because when our database was collected, it was compiled anonymously. This database was around long before the world was connected like we are today with the internet. So we are unfortunately not able to give people their actual names. However, we have seen people do all sorts of things once they get their results. I know that there's a question about what venues do people have to reacquaint themselves with their African families. And so I'll say one thing is that we have African ancestry family reunions that launched last year, but never took off because the world shut down. So as soon as the world reopens, we will be off into the world, into African countries. We're traveling to 6 countries in specially curated birthright journeys that have been created to offer a completely immersive cultural experience, and naming ceremonies will be a part of that. So you will be able to get a new name. The country of Sierra Leone is the first country that has formalized citizenship based on, for non-celebrities, for everyday people, based on the results of an African ancestry DNA test. And so we're very excited to have that process become formalized and initiated. People are interacting with the African communities where they live right now. You know, I live in Washington, D.C. There's probably not an African community that isn't represented here in Washington, D.C. And so, and there's several cities around the country where that's the case. People are learning languages, people are writing books and music and plays and starting nonprofits and investing and doing so many different things. It really just depends on what motivated you to take the test.
Awesome.
I hope that answers your question, Perez, Esther. So another question from Tiffany Green Abdullah. What is the cost and timeline of the test? And is there a cost for both tests, like a combined package?
So the cost for one test is only $299. And what I want people to keep in mind is that you only need one test to answer the question for so many people in the family. When I've never taken it, actually, my mother took it. She traced our maternal line. So I know that I share maternal ancestry with the Fulani people living in Nigeria today, as opposed to those living in Cameroon or in Guinea or in Senegal or in Mali or anywhere else.
Wow.
But when she did that, that meant I knew, that meant her sister and brother knew, that meant their children knew, that meant my grandmother knew, that meant my grandmother's sisters knew, that meant that their children knew. So one test answers the question for an entire branch of the family tree. We do offer a discount for the purchase of multiple tests at the same time. And once you're an African ancestry family member, there's always a discount on future tests. And somebody also, women may want to know this. I'm sorry to jump in again, but if you're a woman and you want to trace ancestry on your father's side, but you have no brothers, or your father is no longer living, there are other family members that you can look for. So you don't have to just do your father's line. Let's say your father was an only child and he's no longer with us. Your grandfather is no longer with us. You could also look at your grandmother's line on your father's side. And so then there may be an aunt or a cousin or some other relative, not in your nuclear family, that can help you out. And if you contact us at info@africanancestry.com, we can certainly help anybody figure out who's the right person to take a test and which test they should take.
That's good.
Corinne Timodent asks, hi, I'm from Guadeloupe and we have the chance to meet Dr. Gina Paige. I'm about to do my test because when people ask me how I can do it, why I haven't done it, I always say since 2008. Do I have to go in the US to do it? So I guess I'm picking that she's trying to say she's in Guadeloupe. Can she take the tests? How does she buy the kit?
So we have people living in 66 different countries who are part of the African ancestry family. As long as You can have a DHL delivery or a FedEx delivery, or as long as you can accept the delivery, you can get a test. So we've shipped tests all over the world. Now there are some countries that are French colonies still, and there's some idiosyncrasies about being in France and being able to do a DNA test. So I would check before, check to see what the laws are. And I know that in Brazil, it's illegal to send your DNA out of the country. So, you got to be aware of the laws of the country, but we certainly can send the test anywhere.
Mm-hmm. So Zakia Courtney asked, I took an African Ancestry DNA test a few years ago. I was happy with my maternal results, which were from Cameroon. Congratulations, Zakia. My brother's DNA didn't show anything. They said it was blocked by a white ancestor. May you please explain?
Blocked by a white ancestor. So I did show the slide that shows that, but you don't even need a slide. Listen, here's the deal. None of us is 100% African unless we were born on the continent or our parents were. As a result of slavery in the Americas, we all have it, whether you look like Wesley Snipes or whether you look like Mariah Carey. You have some European ancestry, period. You may not be aware of where it falls in the family tree. We can't just look for Africa. We're looking for ancestry. And because our customers are of African descent, we know that there's a good chance that anytime we look for ancestry, we're going to find African results. But I showed you the percentages. When you trace a paternal line, there's a 35% chance that it's going to be European, because white men were fathering children. They were having brown babies with enslaved women. It's just that simple. And so if a Portuguese slaveholder fathers a son with an enslaved woman from Guinea-Bissau, the son is going to be Black, because that's just how our culture works. One drop rule, you Black. And he's going to have Black sons who have Black sons who have Black sons, but the Y chromosome is going to go to Portugal. Doesn't mean you're not Black, doesn't mean you're not African, doesn't mean that it was blocked. It wasn't blocked, it just is. It just is Portuguese. So that's how that works.
All right, thank you. So Clarissa Jones says, so awesome, Dr. Paige. Thank you for co-founding this extraordinarily important agency and service. Love that you call this a resistance and reclaiming identity. All Black everything. Yes, I'm with you, Clarissa.
I mean, it really is an act of resistance. We're not even supposed to be here. And the more, our history has been blocked. Speaking of stuff being blocked, right. Our history has been blocked. Our identity has been blocked, and we've been forced to conform because we haven't been aware of the tools, or we haven't had the tools. And now today we have the tools. We have the tools to reconnect with Africa. We have the tools to understand our history before enslavement and before slavery. And we need to use them. Right. We just need to, there are no excuses. And if you understood who you came from, if you understood that we invented psychology, we invented math, we figured out astronomy, we figured out the law, we started all of this. This is us.
That's right.
I get into these conversations. Let me just step on the soapbox for a second. I get in these conversations with people about how, we need to be showing more about modern day and what people can become, and don't be so mired in history. And I refuse that. You cannot, you're going to keep making the same old mistakes if you don't read and learn and understand that everything we're doing right now, we've already done. So why recreate the wheel? Figure out something new, or figure out who did it well and do it that way. We don't have to struggle. We have everything we need because we are African. It's just, I mean, I just want to shake everybody. Like, we have what we need. It's already in us. Everything. Why do you think these other companies are taking our DNA and selling it? Look at Henrietta Lacks.
Right.
We have the most valuable genetics in the world. So you need to understand your genetics, help use it to help you understand who you are, and then we can change this whole experience that we're having.
And for the questions, and thank you, Dr. Paige, for such a lively, informative, and empowering discussion and presentation. I'm sure everyone is excited. I'm excited. I'm excited when I see products and services like this that are designed for the Black nation. So thank you for this. Ms. Pat.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Modesta. And thank you, Dr. Gina Paige. Like I said, this is a dream come true for me, something I've wanted to do for a really long time. We thank you for sharing your extraordinary story with us and your passion, because it's contagious. And you have certainly helped to make the picture clearer for all of us. Thank you for making this valuable resource available. So people, please, go to BlackAfricanAncestry.com and take a look at the kits that are available. And it's a whole experience. It's not just take a test. It's a whole experience. So I hope everyone that's tuning in today on Facebook and on Zoom will reach out to African Ancestry and trace your DNA, find your roots. Please also remember ongoing support of the Before Slavery Project. We are actually building a museum, and it'll be a place where you can come and visit and learn about the different ethnicities, how people lived, and what they believed, and the process of how we got to where we are today, but more importantly, what happened before that. Business owners, please leave a note in the chat. Find out how you can partner with us. And just, thank you to everyone that have prayed with us, given of your time, donated. All of these things help. I hope that you are looking forward to our next webinar. We've been doing them every 2 weeks, and the next one will be for Black History Month, so that's going to be exciting. Check your email, you'll hear more about it, and look forward to that. So at our last webinar, we had our drawing. And the drawing is at the end of the webinar, you will be directed to a site. Modesta will tell you more about it, where you just answer, I think it's just 5 questions, 5 or 6, but it's very brief, but it will really help us. Anyway, the people who filled out their questions at the last webinar, we're going to have our drawing right now. And I'll share the screen so that you can see what you will win. Okay. I don't know if everyone can see that. The photo?
We can see it.
Okay, good. All right, so here we go. If you were here last time, then you will find out right away that you won. If the person is not here today, we also ask you to put in your email address so that we can let you know that you won. And the winner is Michelle Perry. Michelle Perry. So I don't know if Michelle is here today, but either way, Michelle will get an email and we'll ship out a t-shirt of the correct size for her. And those of you who are here today, please answer the questions, brief questions at the end. It will help us to continue to bring good content to you. Tell us how we can improve. Tell us what you like so we can keep doing it. And the next thing I want to share with you is our Jerusalem Challenge, which is coming up soon. We had to delay it a little bit because of the pandemic, but we're working a way around getting that out to you so that we can all get out there and dance and show our stuff and and raise money for the Before Slavery Museum. You'll hear more about it when we release it, and we want to give special thanks to our friend Miss Twanda Black, who will be the MC and the host for our pep rally and our awards ceremony. Excuse me, for the winners of the Jerusalem Challenge. Meanwhile, special thanks to our special sponsor, WPGN Radio, who will be broadcasting information and whatnot about the Jerusalem Challenge. So I turn it back over to Modesta.
Thank you, Ms. Pat, and thank you everyone for attending this webinar. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we, as Before Slavery, before the pandemic, we've been doing projects which are displayed in museums in Atlanta, and we're planning to take our displays across museums around the United States, but since then we haven't been able to. So we came up with this initiative so that everyone can access education about Black history, about the history of Black people before enslavement, who they were, the cultures, the customs, the religions of the spaces which they lived in on the continent before the commencement of the slave trade. So far we've had 6 webinars since November, and we want to continue to bring these educational webinars. So at the end, when you leave this meeting, when it ends, you'll be redirected to a survey page, and we ask you to please take a few minutes of your time, less than a minute, to just complete the questions. They'll really help us improve the webinars and let us know what subjects you're really interested in knowing. Leave some questions, tell us what really interested you in this discussion, and also leave your email address and your name, please, so that you can enter the draw and you're able to maybe you'll be the lucky winner next time. So again, thank you so much. I hope you will join us in the next 2 weeks when we hold another webinar. Our webinars are bi-weekly, so mark your calendars. Every 2 weeks, we'll be bringing you another webinar. And also, please visit our page at beforeslavery.com. Check out what we do there. And we also appreciate sponsorship of any kind. It could be monetary, it could be skills, knowledge that you can volunteer. We have so many volunteers who are part of this organization, and they're just wanting to make this our history together, put our brains and effort and skills together to bring back African history to life. So you can volunteer in any way, you can contribute in any way as well. So again, thank you for answering the survey in advance, and thank you for being part of the Before Slavery family. We hope to see you in the next 2 weeks.
Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Paige.
Thank you for having me.